Go time. Meeting is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer by Supervisor Lazansky. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us gifts and talents to use in service for others. Place in our hearts a desire to do the things you have prepared in advance for us to do. As one door closes, another one opens. Last month, a door closed, but you have provided us a new direction to move forward. As we work through these new opportunities and challenges, let us be guided by your wisdom in making decisions that are best for our county now and for future generations. We pray that you bless our work here tonight. We thank you for this honor. May we be good stewards of your blessings. We place this meeting in your hands. We pray in your most blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call. We've had some supervisors that had asked to be excused. Supervisor Kenner, did I forwarded that one to you? Yes. Okay. You want to do on the pads, the approval of the agenda? Or do you want just a voice vote? Okay, we're ready to vote on approval of the agenda. Did we have a motion? No. There we go. Motion by Supervisor Swaggle, second by Supervisor Romden. Now, whenever we're prepared, here we go. Now you can register your vote. Thank you. Very well, 17 yes, none opposed, motion carries. Motion would look for a motion to approve the minutes from the previous board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Haskey, second by Supervisor Lazansky. Are there any questions on those minutes? Any discussion of the motion? Very well, you may vote. 17 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Citizens input.
The board will hear concerns members of the public wish to raise, but will not discuss or take action on any matter until the matter can be placed on an agenda with proper notice to the public. The board welcomes citizens to present their concerns to the board in a professional manner relevant to issues affecting Kewaunee County. Each citizen may take 3 minutes to present their concern, and the board has allotted a total of 20 minutes for this portion of the meeting. Please be mindful the board may halt any disruptive comments and any comments that are threatening, vulgar, or abusive. Ron Klahach.
Could you please proceed to the microphone so that you can be heard by all in the room? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ron Klahach, and I am one of the trustees from the Village of Luxembourg. I came here today with some concerns in the restoration of the new system that Buck Tussle has been installing in the village. Prior to the meeting, Dan introduced me to several of the people from Buck Tussle. I believe most of my issues have been resolved through them, but I still want it noted at the board. Some of these areas have been boxes and stuff that are open, have been there for over a year. And a lot of on 54 restoration was never completed. Again, when you lose a contractor, you don't know what they finished and what they didn't. So I get it. So again, I'm just here to inform, but I have talked to Buck Tussle, and hopefully you won't see me next month. And
We'd be happy to have you back either way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stan Johnson,
Good evening. My name is Stan Johnson. I'm a new resident basically in Kewaunee County. I'm here because I sent some information in early in June about representing Kewaunee County on the Bay Lake Planning Commission. So I wanted you to know a little bit about me. I'm the type of guy that really believes in transparency and communication. To be successful in representing the public, you have to be able to do both of them very well. I'm also an individual that is not afraid to say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. And I will seek, doing the resources that I can render, to be able to answer the questions. I will represent this community very well, and I'm used to representing thousands of people. My previous life, I served as president of the Wisconsin Education Association Council. Now, many of you may not know what that is, but I guess, quote unquote, you might say that was the teachers union. So I had some experience dealing with legislators, dealing with getting issues across. I would like to do the same because I want to be a good public servant for this community. And I appreciate the time that you have given me to be able to introduce myself. And hopefully later on today, you will say, you know, he's the kind of guy we want representing Kewaunee, and we'll put him on that commission. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, that was all that had signed up. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the board? Are there any others who wish to speak to the board? Anyone wish to speak to the board? All right. We will move on with appointments, which you have before you. Is there a motion or, whoa, okay. Is there a motion to approve the appointments? Motion by Supervisor Masteler, second by Supervisor Vollenweider. Is there discussion of the motion? Any questions on the motion? Supervisor Haskey.
Okay, if we're dealing with the Bay Lake Regional Planning, can we change the ones you're putting through and add Stan's name to that list that goes to the governor?
In order for that to happen, there would have to be an amendment to the motion. And if there were a second, then there would have to be a vote on the motion to determine its success. Other
Okay,
questions?
Linda was just telling me that she would be willing to not go forward with Bay Lake Regional Planning if we have a second. So if you only want to do two, I would like to make the motion to put Stan's name on that Bay Lake Regional Planning appointment.
Do we want to do that on the, hold on while we get that up? So that is a motion, there is a motion to amend. All right.
Right. Right.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Lazansky seconds.
Mr. Chair, for a matter of clarification on Robert's rules,
Yes.
is that the proper procedure to go through amending a motion? I would think that person making the motion would have to amend it. If council could
No.
clarify.
No. Corporation Council, there's a question regarding the proper procedure on amending that motion.
Well, if that's the case, I would go for it, and I made the motion, so.
Okay. So Supervisor Masteler made the motion. He is willing to make the motion to amend. So I guess that would make that point moot.
I would
Supervisor-
second that motion as I had seconded the first motion.
All right. So
Okay,
I
good.
have
Good.
second that. Okay. Oh, yes, Supervisor Teske.
I just have
Wait. We have too many people have green, I think is causing feedback. If you're not speaking, please turn your microphone off. Go ahead Supervisor Teske.
I just have a question. Can there be more than two people on that?
There can be more than 2 names submitted. The governor, we submit names to the governor and the governor then chooses from the
Okay.
names that we as a board submit to him.
Okay, so you would just be adding Mr. Johnson on to the list?
That is what the amendment stated.
Thank you.
Further discussion of the amendment. Supervisor Swagel.
Excuse me, sir, are we voting on all appointments A, B, and C as one motion?
We are.
Okay,
But
thank you, sir.
but
But the amendment to the second one.
The
Thank you, sir.
amendment would be adding. That is correct. Any other questions? Further discussion? Seeing none, when the clerk is prepared, we will vote to, you may vote on the amendment. We have 17 yes, 1 opposed, 2 absent. Motion carries, amendment carries, amendment to the motion carries. We will proceed then. Now we will proceed to vote on the motion as amended, unless there's further questions. Seeing none. You may now vote. $15 yes, 2 no, one absent, there are two absent, 1 abstain, motion carries. We'll proceed then to reports. First up is KCEDC.
I need the board. Oh, it's on this side. All right, there we go. Good evening. Thank you for having me again. It's been a few months since I've been here last, so thought it was a good time to give you an update on some of the things that we've been doing, some of the things we're doing moving forward. And with that, I thought a good starting point was, not a lot of you have asked, but just wondering who's in charge and who's running kind of our board of directors. So these are the officers, current officers of the KCEDC board. So if you can't find me or talk to me, you could talk to any of these individuals. So I know you regularly see at least 2 of them on a monthly basis. The remaining board members that fill out the rest of our board are listed there. I won't read them all to you. We will be looking for a few additional board members in 2024 as well. So if you know anybody that is interested in economic development or is a business leader that would be interested in joining our board, send them to myself or one of our board members. I know most of you only know me as the face of the EDC, but we actually do have 2 part-time employees that work for us, Robin and Eva is a high school student at Luxembourg Casco. She is a marketing apprentice that helps us with our weekly newsletters each week. So we take advantage of the youth apprenticeship program. Just a refresher on our vision, mission, and goals. I won't read this all again because I know you've all heard it many times over, but there are a few new people here tonight. So it's always good just to remind us of what our vision, mission, and goals are within the county. Some of the projects that we've been working on over the course of the last year is our BRE program, which is business retention expansion. So that is meeting with local businesses asking them all kinds of questions, trying to identify risk, opportunities to align them with resources and different things like that. So we've completed over 100 of those, representing more than 3,000 employees in the county. Earlier this year, we've initiated Workforce Wednesdays. So one of the challenges that we've been hearing through our BRE program is lack of available talent for jobs. So we are trying to help facilitate means for people to get connected to those jobs. In the last year, we've worked with New North on broadband expansion. I know the county is very active in broadband expansion. And then also in tourism, we saw in the last year a 26% increase in direct visitor spending here. So that's from 37 million to 43 million. And those numbers came from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism. In addition, grants has been a big focus of ours in the past year. Our focus is adjusting, which I'll talk about later. But we had awarded a couple of GROW grants to small businesses in the county to get themselves some seed money. The Main Street Bounce Back Grant Program, I know some of you have heard of that. We've been very successful with that to the point where on the New North Regional Economic Development Summit that was held at Lambeau Field back in June, we were one of the examples that was given by the CEO of the state EDC. As to my knowledge, we were the best county across the state in capturing funding for that program. So we captured more than 35% of an 18 counties allocation for that. Legislative days, we held that back in April. Some of you participated in that event as well. I think that went very well, lobbying on issues important to our region. Ag Career Days, that's a workforce development program that introduced all middle school students from 5 area school districts to different careers in agriculture. So that was over 950 students that participated in that and countless volunteers that made that day possible. Some of our other economic success that we've been seeing over the course, this is now over the last 4 years, we've seen our median income level increase by 16%. Our educational attainment increased by 24%, and local tax revenue increased by more than $1 million. So in terms of actual annual financial impact, this graph represents the white bar is basically the amount of investment support that the EDC has received, and the blue bar is what we turn that into in terms of value. So you can see across the board, very significant increases in terms of impact on some of the work that we have done. The bottom one, EVA, that is not our marketing apprentice, EVA, that is the economic value add. So I know I've presented that to you in the past. That's a mathematical equation on how you take investment dollars and calculate the economic value on the backside of those investments. We have a new event that you may have seen. There was an article just recently in the Green Bay Press Gazette. We are partnering with Door County's Economic Development Corporation on a new event, which we are calling Lighthouse Launch. It's basically, if any of you have seen the TV show Shark Tank, this is kind of Kewaunee and Door County's version of that. So entrepreneurs, it's intended to be seed money for entrepreneurs. They basically come, they pitch their business and their idea to a board of judges, and the judges then select who the top prize winner is. So we have a prize of $1,000 for the first place and a prize of $500 for second place. And the top 2 finishers from our contest will then go to a regional pitch contest, which will be held at Titletown Tech sometime in November. So if anybody knows any entrepreneurs that are interested in starting a business, they do not have to have an established business. It can just be an idea for a business. Encourage them to watch our Facebook page or to get in touch directly with me. And hopefully we can have Kewaunee County well represented in that. So after they win the regional one, then they move on to a state level one. So we're excited about that, which is a new event. Future projects, we're still in the works on leading the charge with the nuclear site redevelopment. We're working with the state, we're working with Energy Solutions, as well as WPS, We Energies, and a few others at trying to figure out what we can or can't do with that site. We're certainly open to feedback from the community. And once we get further down the road, we'll actually hold listening sessions and things like that to kind of do some visioning on what that site could potentially become. It's important that we get out in front of it before too much decommissioning occurs, because there's a lot of infrastructure that exists on that site. Why tear it out if it would serve a purpose in the future? So we're evaluating that. Diversifying business has become a strategic priority for us. We know that the more diverse your business climate is, the better you can weather significant economic events like the pandemic or recessions or those types of things. Technology is there. So we've generalized that as into technology, so that obviously includes broadband, but also looking ahead to, there's a lot of talk and discussion right now about AI and how that's going to displace workers. So we want to stay on the front edge of that. And I think in our newsletter that we sent last week, there is a free AI summit that is going to be occurring later this summer that will kind of go through some of what we might be facing with that. And then housing. I think are all aware that housing options in our county are very limited. We're kind of calling it life cycle housing. So it's not just low income or affordable. We kind of need housing all the way across the board. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit more about housing. So part of the reason that we know that housing is a top priority and why we're emphasizing that as a strategic priority now is through our BRE program. All of our top employers, so employers that have more than 100 employees in the county, have all identified housing as their top priority. They need workforce, and a lot of their vacant positions are entry-level to mid-level positions. So a lot of this is real data from our county. This does not include Green Bay in Kewaunee's numbers and things like that. But so if I would have not shown you this slide and asked which county of our neighboring counties you thought had the highest median income, I'm guessing most of you would have guessed Brown or Door County. Kewaunee County has the highest median level of income of any of our neighbors. Our median income in this county is $72,328. So Brown County is second, Door County third, and Manitowoc fourth. And these numbers will make more sense as I go a little deeper here. In our home occupancy rates, again, we are first. That means most of our housing stock has people living in it. We're over 83%. The next closest is Door County. And well, I guess you can see the graph. In terms of home units available, this is total housing stock that exists within our county. You can see we are lagging behind all of our surrounding neighbors. Now, Brown County is a different scenario because of its population. Door County has a very similar population to us, and they have, Door County has over 24,000 housing units. Kewaunee County has 9,341. To exasperate this a little bit further, these are housing permits that were issued for new construction over the course of the last year. As you can see, Kewaunee on the far left there is lagging behind all three of our neighbors. Brown County, again, if you remove that and you want to look at Door County as the most comparable in terms of population and dynamics. So Brown County had 1,059. Door County last year had 384 housing permits. Manitowoc County 108, and Kewaunee County had 44. So we're significantly behind in our housing development. Our next statistic that supports this strategic focus is our worker attrition rate. Of Of the working adults that exist in our county, 53% of them work and stay in Kewaunee County. 47% of them leave. That equates to about 4,100 people per day leaving our county to work somewhere else. So workers leaving the county indicates kind of a nuanced relationship between income and employment. So it's echoing what our businesses are telling us. We have a very high median income. A lot of our workforce is leaving the county, and a lot of the positions that are going unfilled are entry level to mid-level. So that all points us back to affordable housing is a challenge for our county. We don't have starter homes available for starter positions that exist within our county. Now, this particular statistic could tell us that wage competitiveness might also be a concern. Why are people leaving our county for other jobs? So some of this has to do with our employers. We have to look at our employers, look at ourselves in the mirror. Are we providing career growth opportunities, job satisfaction, things like that? So if we're going to advance our economic story, we have to capture some of this economic leakage that's leaving our county. So what I have really been working on very diligently over the last few months is how can the EDC address housing. So what I have up here is kind of the foundation of what would be a multi-year effort in terms of generating more housing development in our county. So for us to successfully do this, we would need to take advantage of existing TIF and TID districts in the county, obviously aligning construction companies to build the houses. WEDA has a number of different programs. So WEDA, if you're not familiar, is the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority. And then also public-private investment. So if you want to kind of understand what we are trying to work towards, we are trying to mimic a program that is going on currently in Sheboygan County. So that program has 4 major employers that all contributed $2 million to a seed fund to get housing development off the ground. And their county also, I think, contributed $2 million of their ARPA dollars into this project. Now, we don't have the size companies that they have in Sheboygan, so we aren't going to be able to do it at the same scale as them. However, we're sorting it out, and I believe that it will create a long-term sustainable model for housing development as well as tax base growth and development within the county. It's not something that will happen overnight. Like I said, it is a multi-year project. I anticipate that it'll take at least 3 years just to get movement on it. But just from a county board standpoint, what this looks like and why this would matter to you is using our county tax rate of about $6.20 per $1,000 of assessed value, one $250,000 home. I should back up. I have figured out metrics of what affordable housing looks like in our county. So based on our median income levels. And when I say affordable housing, it's not the same as low income housing. Affordable housing means it takes less than households, it takes 30% or less of a household's income to pay for their housing cost, whether that's through a mortgage or rent or those types of things. So on one $250,000 home, that would generate about $1,550 just in property tax on its assessed value. If we set a goal of 100 homes, then we're looking at over $155,000 of annual property tax. And that's just the county's portion of that tax. That doesn't include municipality taxes or those types of things. And there's a number of other metrics that will generate revenue as well for the county, payment of utility fees. You also would have 100 more households contributing to the local economy, which then drives your sales tax higher. Net new construction directly is tied to your ability to raise or adjust the tax levy. So that would give the county flexibility in that. And then there's also taxes on construction costs and those types of things. So this is something that we're working pretty heavily on and have been for the last couple of months. So more than happy to answer questions about it, if anybody has any. So with that, that's kind of what we've been up to. It's a lot. We're still continuing to do all of the other things that we've done, BREs and helping facilitate different things for the Viking cruises and tourism and working with the chambers and those types of things. So we're staying busy. With that, that's what I got for you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I do think that housing is something that we need to look at, but I think one thing we do need to realize, talking about it's a little bit apples to oranges as far as comparing us and the trying to bring in businesses to compete at the same scale as Brown County. Obviously, there's not the hospitals, there's not a lot of the jobs, the employers that are going to pay those high paying jobs to the extent here. And I just did a quick look. We're a third smaller than Door County and 10 times smaller than Brown County. So I think, although it is definitely an issue that we should look at, I think those comparisons are not exactly apples to apples.
Yeah, and I would agree. That's why I put Brown County in there, just because it's in a neighboring county. And if we want to compare ourselves to a larger metropolitan area, like what's the difference? Why is Green Bay so much more ahead of us? It's obviously they have a population, they have, more businesses located. I want to say Brown County has like 6,000 businesses. In our county, we have about 450. So yeah, I mean, housing is a foundational economic development issue. It touches on talent attraction. It touches on workforce retention. It touches on tax base and local units of government. It attaches to school districts and their enrollments and their funding levels. So it is a very interdependent economic driver within our community.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next, Bug Tussle. Looks like we have Jason Weed and Scott Noskovich. Right? Okay. We're gonna go with that.
A lot of consonants. Right, Scott? Thank you, Mr. Chairman and everybody. As some of you may know, my name is Jason Weed. I'm the CEO of Bug Tussle. I took over as CEO about 8 months ago, so in January of this year. And I want to talk a little bit about the work that we've done in Kewaunee over the last couple of years. We started our partnership with Kewaunee County back in 2020 when we agreed to erect 7 towers in Kewaunee to try to provide internet to a lot of people who didn't have it. That was really our first effort, and we're very happy to say that we've completed 9 towers. We've got 9 sites up and running. They've been very successful. We've gotten a lot of compliments and a lot of people, including some in this room, who are hooked up and I think pleased with the service. So we're very happy about our progress there. I'm going to let Mitch Olson, he can bring up some slides and share more details. I do have to mention, after watching the EDC piece, although the comparisons between Brown County and Kewaunee are different, one of my best friends is Troy Streckenbach, the county executive in Brown County. And I'm going to have to kid him a little bit that Kewaunee has passed us up in average income. I think he'll be surprised to hear that, and I'll be happy to joke with him a little. We are also in the middle of installing middle mile fiber in Kewaunee County. We've got 19 miles complete, available for customers. We're in the process of completing an additional 40 miles, and then we've got another 70 miles in design and approval phase right now. So we're very pleased with the progress, but I do want to talk about some things that we've learned along the way, and there have been plenty. We found that this was the first county that we did any substantial fiber work anywhere. So we started doing fiber just a couple of years ago, and that has caused us to have to grow quite a bit. So when I started a few years ago, we had 40 people. We only did towers and wireless internet. We had, about 40 people at the time. We have now have a little over 200 people. So in the last year and a half, we've added about 160 people to Bug Tussle. And along the way, we've had some bumps on the road. We found in Kewaunee, the feedback we got, especially after the snow melted, was there was a lot of cleanup that was not done properly throughout the county, especially in Luxembourg. I spoke with Ron before the meeting, and that's something that has to be addressed. We lose some level of control when we hire it out to contractors and then subcontractors. And we have found that not having that direct control and relying on third parties and then partners of third parties to follow along and do cleanup work has not worked very well for us. We're not happy with the way it's gone. And so we brought construction in-house. We actually acquired a company that's going to do our fiber work going forward. And we are working right now. We put ads in the newspapers in Kewaunee to make sure we heard from as many people as possible about cleanup issues. We've tried to address them. We've tried to have our contractor address them. If they've failed, we've gone out ourselves to do it. At this point, we just had a discussion with Ron. We said, give us a list of any issues that still exist in Luxembourg, and we're going to send our own crews out to take care of it. It's long enough. I'm embarrassed that it's taken this long to get that fixed. And it was a little bit of a breakdown in communication with contractors and subcontractors, and that's not an excuse. We just got to get it cleaned up. But despite that, we're still happy with the progress. I do also want to mention, in full transparency, we hired an ex-person with the county. So Scott Felt is working with us now. I do want to tell the board, we did not talk to him or even consider hiring him until we talked to the chairman. We called first and asked if that was even appropriate for us to look at that. And he was looking for a different opportunity, and we brought him aboard, frankly, to help us with community issues like this, to make sure that we're cleaning up issues, we're taking care of things ahead of time. So he has joined us to help with that. We, in the first 20 years of our company, built about $10 million worth of assets, all towers. So in 20 years, we did about $10 million. This year, we're going to put $80 million into the ground or in the air. So in 1 year, we're doing about 8 times what we did in our first 20 years. And so with that growth, again, comes some chances to learn, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we will get that fixed. We're very excited about the future with Kewaunee. We're excited about the business that we've gotten. We're excited about the customers we have. We're excited about the community outreach that we're doing. Mitch will share a little bit about our Bug Tussle University, but I think we're the only company, we compete mainly with large companies, multi-state companies, multinational companies, Spectrum, Frontier, TDS, AT&T. We're just a little company out of Green Bay. So we try to do things a little bit different, and Bug Tussle University and our community outreach is one piece. So we've done dozens of classes in Kewaunee. They're all free. They're not a sales pitch. Frankly, it's just to help people learn what to do with internet. It's one thing to get it. People hear about broadband. They don't know what it is. They hear about internet. They may not know what that means. And so we try to bring people in and teach people. Usually it's an older crowd. And we teach them anything from how to use a smartphone, how to set up a Zoom call, how to speak to the grandkids. And we've really had a lot of fun with that. And so we're pleased to be a part of that. Our ultimate goal is to make internet available to everybody in the county. There's still little stretches where there's no alternative, there's nothing available. And we're going to try to get out into every nook and cranny in the coming months and years. So we really look forward to continuing to work with you. I'm going to have Mitch talk about some specific items. Because he knows how to hook up a computer.
Sure. Thank you, Jason. As I originally would have described my presentation as the good, bad, and ugly, but Jason took most of the good and bad, so I just get the ugly part. Rehashing what Jason said is we have a number of projects that are ongoing with Kewaunee County, both beginning with fixed wireless a few years ago, working through the phase 1 fiber, which is still in progress, and then a phase 2 that we applied for a grant for. As Jason mentioned, we have 9 on-air broadband sites, and from those sites, we have 596 customers. You can see on the map, which hopefully I didn't overload with too much data, where those customers and towers are located. And then the shading kind of just indicates the density of the customers that we have in that area. So you'll see we have more customers closer to the tower, and as news spreads, they kind of reach out a little bit further and further into the more rural spaces of the county. I'm happy to say that we do have a customer in every town and village in Kewaunee County, so the level of coverage we're providing is pretty thorough, other than the cities of Algoma and Kewaunee. We cover them, but they haven't called yet. The first phase of fiber, as Jason mentioned, was 62 miles of middle mile. But that was what was in the original project proposal. That was what we originally planned to fund, and that was what the grant contemplated as far as a funding project goes. In the middle, we changed our mind and decided to do last mile along that middle mile route as well. So once you take that original 62-mile middle mile route and add in all of the last mile and distribution pieces, that project swells up to about 94 miles. So there's obviously an added cost associated with that additional construction that we've bore, but that has added some delays on top of how far we expected the middle mile project to be at this point. Happy to report that the first segment of fiber lit in green on the screen in front of you is our nominality, where there are 23 customers as of today, a handful of those that just came on last week. So we'll continue to connect people along that route and then work to lighting the remainder of the network as we go. So we have 177 people signed up and waiting for the connections to come, as Jason mentioned, continuing to build through as we're able. The bad, obviously, as mentioned a couple of times during this meeting, is the restoration piece. I won't belabor it because Jason already addressed it, but we are aware of the concerns and continuing to work both internally and with our contractors to make sure that all of the issues are addressed. As Jason mentioned, there have been a couple of ads in the newspaper regarding who to contact if there are any issues, but feel free to pass out our contact information to whoever has it. We're not the only ones doing construction in Kewaunee County, but we'll be happy to take a look and make sure that it's not us. And if it is, we'll definitely work to fix it. The ugly, as I foreshadowed, is our fiber phase 2 project. We originally applied for that at the end of 2021, and we were awarded that grant in the middle of, or my years might be transposed. We applied for that grant and we were awarded to build an additional 62 miles of middle mile fiber throughout Kewaunee County. Due to an error that I personally made, we had to withdraw our grant application and forego that grant award. As you can see on the slide in front of you, I have an example of the cover page from the 2 grants that I've submitted on behalf of Kewaunee County and Bug Tussle. In the 2022 application, you had a box that required you to fill in the number of unserved and underserved businesses and residences that would be served by the project. The next year, they changed that criteria so that it was only to be unserved, and I did not notice that distinction. So the PSC felt that we misstated the amount of unserved people that would be covered by our project, and after lengthy discussions and deal making with the PSC, ultimately it resulted in us withdrawing our application for Kewaunee County. So where does phase 2 stand is still something that we're committed to doing, but it does require some creativity in figuring out the funding sources for it. Had the grant gone through, we probably would be further underway with phase 1 and working towards phase 2 this year. But obviously without the grant, we were unable to fund that at this time. But we'd like to continue to work with Kewaunee County and continue to work with our external funding sources to find a way to make that happen. The other wrinkle in the industry is now, as grants continue to move forward, the likelihood of having middle mile projects funded is ever decreasing. On the plus side, as of yesterday, the PSC announced or released their mapping for their next phase of grant awards. They have a $45 million pot coming from the Capital Projects Funds Broadband Infrastructure Grant Program, which is a mouthful. The applications for that are due in the first week of November, and this is the most favorable map that Kewaunee County has had in any of my time doing this work. Is from RDOF through ARPA through any of the PSC mapping, as Kewaunee County has always incorrectly appeared to be much better served than it was. But through this program, and as you can see by all the red representing eligible areas, this will be a good opportunity to look at additional projects to do in Kewaunee County. And that's something we hope to partner with the county moving forward on, given the likelihood of grant funding being available. Moving out of the construction side of things and into the community engagement portion of my presentation, as Jason mentioned, we have Bug Tussle University, which is a free charge program that we offer for community classes. We've had a number of them in Kewaunee County that have gone over very well. The students generally appreciated that there was someone there willing to help and willing to go at the pace that they have. So what we find in a lot of the communities we work with is people don't know, haven't known for a long time, and just would like someone to walk through it with them step by step. And that's where we have made the most hay with our Bug Tussle University program. Of the classes we've offered in Kewaunee County, these were the 4 most popular: using the internet to keep your brain healthy, internet safety, fun with photos, and then smartphone basics. Obviously, we do a lot of relatively elementary classes because that's the audience that we see most frequently, and that seems to have the most interest in attending the classes we offer. Coming up, we have a number of more classes scheduled within Kewaunee County, including how the heck does this thing work, computing for beginners, how to shop safely online, and so many passwords, so little time, which are all offered at the Algoma Public Library once a month in September, October, and November. Further on the community engagement thing, we just like to mention that we've started to participate in sponsorship programs throughout Kewaunee County, including those listed in front of you. If you have any nonprofits or charitable outfits that need sponsorship, that we have a set of people responsible for that. So feel free to reach out, and we'd like to keep continuing to increase our participation in Kewaunee County. Go back.
So Scott Noskowitz, I'm not going to have you talk because you'll start trying to sell people and they don't want to hear that right now. But Scott is a great salesperson. If anybody ever has any questions about Bug Tussle or needs services, please contact Scott. And he does a nice job getting out into the community, doing events. Even with his bad leg, he is all over the place. So very proud of him and the work that he's doing. We're happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple of things. First of all, I want to clarify to the board. I did not mention previously, but now that you have, I can comment on this, that Scott Felt had gone to work for Bug Tussle. Obviously, board was aware that he was no longer here, but that had not been disclosed. He did not disclose it in his letter, so I didn't feel it appropriate for me to. But since you did now, I can comment on it. And they did contact me prior. Bug Tussle did. And I think a lot of board members were aware, perhaps not all, that Scott had applied, in many different places. I had received numerous, Supervisor Poppy, I don't know how many different counties, at least 6 where he was applying, and he, had been finalist in several of those. So my comment was basically, he's obviously looking for a position, and so I felt like the writing was maybe on the wall, so to speak, and I advised them that they needed to do whatever they felt was best in their best interest. So they hired him. The other question I had, or the other thing, was fiber to the county building. Ross, which you want to help me clarify?
Sure. Ross Learning, IT Director for Kewaunee. We were assured a while back at the end of 2022 that we would have the fiber connected to our buildings for us to use for county business. I think we've received one update early, very early in this winter, but we have not received any updates since then, and we're just looking for an update, a timeline. This is when it's going to be completed. It was supposed to be completed in phase 1. Sounds like phase 1 is pretty much completed. So we're just looking for an update to get our buildings connected as part of the process.
Yeah, my understanding is that's definitely included in phase 1. It certainly doesn't have to wait for phase 2. I'll check on the status and shoot you an email tomorrow. I don't want to speak out of turn on the exact status of it.
Okay.
But Mitch, can you be the main contact person for? I don't want this to fall into a void, so
Correct.
you guys can just talk to each other.
That would be great.
Get them your cell phone number, and yeah.
Kind of like the repairs in Luxembourg. We got to make sure that doesn't fall into a void.
Well, it's not going to, especially after I met Ron.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna take care of
Well,
it.
he had called me and,
Yeah.
you know, you guys, I know you guys have made a lot of progress. That has been a nightmare. But I know you've made a lot of progress, but he called me and I said, well, it just so happens we're gonna have bug tussle here. So if you can be
Yeah.
there, fabulous. So I appreciate you staying on that. Other questions, for bug tussle? Yes, Supervisor Dale.
In the past, when it first came out, myself personally had a lot of issues. Okay, we had a lot of internet dropped. Okay. I want to say probably the last time I talked to you was last time you were here. And since then, it got really better. But it's still, when storms hit, you know, our internet is out and so forth. When storms hit, is that something that we're gonna lose? Is the internet? I'm just curious.
Well, no, the reason that we're getting fiber to the towers, one of the reasons we wanted to do this middle mile project is that helps protect that. You know, when the towers are just by themselves and they're getting backhaul, meaning the information is getting to the tower over the air from microwave to microwave. Sometimes the storms can just mess with the signals just a little bit, or and it affects it. By getting more of the towers hardwired, that's going to alleviate most of those concerns. And I know they've made some changes since we last talked, and the network is improving on a daily basis. But yeah, they weren't happy with the network until it was going to be complete. And I think we're getting much closer to that. So I'm glad to hear that it's gotten better. And I think when we get the middle mile hooked up and we get these hardwired, then we're going to feel very confident. And if you have problems, please let us know.
Supervisor Kroll.
So where I live, and I talked to Scott about this on Valley, it's like they started it and then they left it. And when they finally came back, all those boxes, they did not put them in the hole. They threw them on the other side of the road in the ditch. There is one that's hidden by the weeds, and then all your lines that are supposed to go in, which is supposed to have the fiber, whatever, they cut them. And they're actually, you can find them sticking up in places. So it never, it's, I don't know who to contact or if you just want to come out and look, but, and then my second question is for anyone that did sign up for this back in like January, February, are they going to get it? Is it coming into that area? Because nothing's been done, and I think it was supposed to keep going south off of us. So if you just want to talk after the meeting, but
Yeah,
there's boxes, they whipped them to the other side, and there is one, some got picked up. I don't know where they went a couple weeks ago, but there is still one that's hidden in the weeds on the other side of the road.
After I talked to you, Kim, I had gotten in touch with Paul Birch and also Johnny King and sent out an email, and Paul said he was going to contact you. Did he contact you?
Nope. And I can see why there was problems with that construction company, because we talked about this. Yeah, so
Yeah, we
that
thank you.
whole,
Yeah.
that whole section, yeah. So I just so you know, because there's areas where they stuck flags in, but they never put the boxes in. They came through and covered the holes and threw the boxes on the other side. And
We found, frankly, not to air all of our dirty laundry, but we found spots where these subcontractors of subcontractors didn't put fiber in, and we got charged, we paid, and now we're finding out that we have some empty boxes or holes with cut wires. And so that's one of the reasons we bought our own construction company. I'm sorry that it's taken this long to get to everything, but I will make it a personal point to talk to our team and make sure they get out and address that. I don't know. I'm not sure in terms of if it continues down the street. I just can't visualize that, but we can get back to you on that. If it's in sight of you and there's homes, we're going to want it to get to you. So I think it's
they
just a
didn't
miss.
they cut the line, so there's no fiber in them. They were empty, and it started like My husband kind of checked into things. So it started in winter when they came and it got worse. So that whole section, there's a big section that's missing, no fiber, no boxes. But they have the flags representing that they're there, but they're not.
Okay, that's right
So-
outside of Luxembourg.
We can talk after the meeting, but I'll give you the directions and yeah, there's some,
You're gonna have a 5-minute recess after we go through committee
Okay,
reports,
perfect.
so. you
so
don't
I
have
just,
to
I,
wait.
there's quite a few.
You don't
Again,
need
the-
to stick around
Yeah.
till 10:30.
This has been a learning experience, but we are committed to getting it right. It's taken a little bit longer than we wanted. That's not what we wanted. We have learned a lot and, we're going to get it right. So we appreciate you talking to us. Scott, we can get it to the right people. I will make it a personal point to make sure that we don't have this going forward. Because we paid a lot of money. And so if we're not able to provide services down these blocks, that's going to be a major problem. So. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Other questions for Bug Tussle while we have them here? Supervisor Lukes?
I have the satellite, but I am able to hook up to fiber if I want. Is there a difference in the cost from fiber that comes direct, a line that comes to your house than just using the satellite?
There is, yes. So as far as the wireless broadband with the dish that you have, if you do have the 25 meg service, and I believe you do, but I'm not 100%. So that's $49.99 for the plan, $10 for the antenna rental, so you're at $59.99.
Correct.
Granted, there's no router rental. For the fiber optic service, we are offering 3 different plans. There's 300 megabytes per second. That cost for the plan is $62 per month. Then there's the 500 megabytes per second. That would be $82 per month for residential. And then the 1 gig service is going to be $100 a month. Now, there is also a router rental fee. So if you want to purchase the router from us, you can definitely do so. Otherwise, it would be $10 per month for the router rentals. You'd be at $72 per month. And then there is one other fee on there for $4.99. So plus taxes, that's basically going to be your total. And that's for residential. For business, or like churches, organizations, like the school church, for example, we do have some different pricing for the organizations as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right, I appreciate you coming here. We touched base some time back and you said you were going to come here at some point and I said sooner would be better than later. So a lot of questions, obviously, and I appreciate you coming so we can get the information directly from you. It works a lot better than trying to
Absolutely.
filter it through me.
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to the county interim administrator. I have to say, it has been, I greatly appreciate Ed stepping in. It has been, it's been seamless. It's like he, never had that 8.5 years in between. He just left one day, came back the next, and I've been really happy and comforted by how well he's been able to get us through this time of transition. Go ahead, Ed. Now that I set you up nicely.
Very good, thank you. I really never thought I'd be here again, but the first 3 weeks I've pretty much been trying to get myself acclimated to everything. I want to thank the department heads and the staff. They've been just wonderful. They've all been very helpful to, help me get on board with where things have changed. It's amazing how many things have changed in 8.5 years. But also having to work with a new finance department, never knew what that was like. And let me tell you one thing, it's wonderful. And having a full-time corp counsel by your side is also a wonderful thing. So those things are going to be helpful for us moving forward as we look for a new administrator. Besides having the 2 departments in place, the individuals that occupy those departments are also amazing people to work with. So I appreciate that. So the first thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is our budget process is now underway. it's that time of year, and it hit me after I was sitting there a couple days and, no, we don't have to do a budget. But luckily, we've got Paul and his staff, and he's got everything worked out, so it all comes in seamlessly. So that works out very well. So the deadline for the departments to get their worksheets in is this Friday, the 18th, and then we work on down the deadline schedule. September 12th will be presented to the Finance Committee. October 17th will be your public hearing on the budget. And all that leads up to November 7th for the budget adoption. So that's kind of what things are pointing towards at this point. And the departments and department heads have been working hard to get their information in. Paul does send me copies of everything that comes in. So a good portion of the budget is already in place. So it's just a matter of assembling it and putting the numbers together. Under personnel matters, this last month we had 4 hires, including the interim administrator, an economic support specialist, a highway worker, and there's been a combination of 2 departments. The register and probate and the family court commissioner will become 1 department, and the individual will start September 5th. So that's a change from the past, which I believe, and both of those combinations were under the circuit court judge's appointment authority. So he's the one that's put that together for us. We did have a resignation at a highway department. As far as recruitments, we have a payroll technician that after 47 years is deciding to retire. And that's 47 years just doing payroll. So it's a long time. Got some radio op jailers that are being planned for. And then our veteran service officer, I know there's been some talk about that. We did have 36 applicants. We've whittled that down. We're going to interview 6 applicants next Wednesday, the 23rd, hopefully to find a replacement in that department and get it back up to full strength and serving the veterans. So that should, I'm confident from what I see in the 6 applicants, we'll find an individual there that can take over and do that work. And like I say, take care of our veterans. As far as this position, the administrator's position, after tonight's meeting and the things that are before you tonight, Peggy and I will get together and get the advertisements out. As you probably noticed in the minutes, executive committee set September 20th for the deadline for receipt of applications. Our pursuit of applicants will include local, state, and federal places that we have to go out and seek applicants. We're hoping that we get a nice return on that as well. So based on that, once the applicants are in, the executive committee's subcommittee, the hiring committee, will then be looked to screen the applicants, bring it down to a number that they want to look at and bring in for an interview, schedule interviews, get the questions laid out. And once they're set, they will make a recommendation to the executive committee as to hiring, and then exec will recommend to this body for your appointment as the next county administrator. So that should hopefully flow, you know, and considering the committee considered hiring some outside help to help us with this selection process. And one of the things, and I'm not trying to speak to that, I wanted to say that their hiring process timeline would take you to somewhere around December 1st. So that's what their expectation was, to have somebody in place going through their process. And so I'm going to tell you the same, that we're probably on that timeline, because depending on the person you hire, you know, if they have to give notice, and it's not uncommon that a 30-day notice is appropriate for that. So we could be right around the 1st of December to get that position filled. Unfortunately, the fishing will be over by then, but that's what we got to do.
Anything else, Ed?
Just one other item I wanted to bring up, and that's the Wisconsin retirement system has undergone a change legislation by the state legislature. It's an item that passed unanimously in the state senate. It's called AB 28. And what it allows is our jailers throughout the state, currently not classified as protective employees, it will allow them the option personally that they could choose to join that protective class. And so what does that really mean? Well, it allows them to be eligible for duty disability insurance, early retirement. So, you know, there's some definite benefits there for the individuals. For them, however, they have to pay the full freight on that. There's no contribution that's going to be required from the county or the employers of jailers that would choose to do that. And just to show you what that looks like, currently an employee's contribution in 2024 is going to be 6.9%. Protective, that classification is 21.24%. So that means the individual would have to pick up another 7.44% of their wage if they chose to join that classification. So it's a pretty hefty jump. So they would end up being responsible for 14.34% of their wage going in if they chose to go into that classification. Now, we don't have any guidance at this point from the WRS as to how this will be implemented and the administration of this policy. I think they're all kind of trying to figure out all the pieces, but that is something that will be available come the first of the year. And our jailers obviously will have the opportunity to make that choice for themselves. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Are there any questions that we can handle at this point?
Right. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go to committee reports. Are there any questions on any of the committee reports that you have received? Supervisor Haskey?
Okay, it's not a question. I just want to do a comment that Brenda Vanderma's retired after 22 years of working for the county, and her position is currently going to be posted. And Kim Sellner was hired to fill the open economic development support position. Her first day of work was 8/14.
All right.
That's it.
Other questions? I'm going to give an update on jail strategy committee. There's obviously a resolution coming up later. I just want to give you background at this point, how we got to where we are. Basically, after the previous vote failed, I started working on possible solutions and started, the option that we're currently looking at this contractor. That is something that I was aware of a couple of years ago. Some of you, I know had heard of it through me. And so after that vote failed, I had a conversation with the jail inspector as well. I also read through DOC 350. Fortunately, all this happened when I was on vacation, so it tells you how exciting my vacations are. As I read through all of this, I also contacted, there was conversation on this a couple of years back or something like that, and was basically told, no, this wouldn't work, wouldn't fit, couldn't make it meet codes, so on and so forth. Anyway, I was able to contact supervisors. That was down in Jackson County, Iowa, although the individual that I talked to, this contractor, he has built 46 jails and running. And the one that we have looked at that I forwarded the floor plan to you, that was actually from Henry County, Iowa. That was a little bit better, perhaps, sample of what might be done here. So I talked to supervisors down in Jackson County, got the name of the contractor, his contact information. He was gracious enough to return my call. I talked to him at great length and discussed whether or not he would be able to do something for us. Anyway, that conversation progressed. It eventually, we had a jail study committee, and that contractor and the architect that he works with was at that meeting. We did meet with them, showed us the plan from Henry County, Iowa, discussed various possibilities. So that's, and you know, that architect, when he came into the meeting, he passed out copies of Wisconsin DOC 350 along with Iowa codes and discussed with us the many similarities. So that's kind of how we, that's the nutshell of the background, what feels like hundreds of hours of phone calls, conversations, and meetings as to how we got to where that resolution that'll be coming forward later. And the reason for that resolution is that I said in the course of that jail study committee meeting that if there isn't support from the board and going forward, well, then I have no interest in pursuing it further. If the board wishes to, well, we'll definitely, I'll be happy to continue on this path. Questions on any of the committee reports? Okay, at this time, we have a lot of agenda ahead, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess. You got 5 minutes Somebody grabbed you. All right, I know that has been more than 5 minutes. I didn't look at my watch, but I'm sure it was over 5. So we're moving on. I just know from experience, we got quite a bit of agenda to go, and I know from experience, some of you can't possibly make it to the end without a trip to the restroom. So, all right, we're going to go on. We have first reading of ordinance. We have none. Consideration of resolutions whenever you're prepared.
Resolution to proceed with working with Midwest Construction Consultants on a new jail construction project. Fiscal impact unknown.
Is there a motion? Motion by Supervisor Kroll, second by Supervisor Agamite. All right, and I have Supervisor Mastelier first. Supervisor Mastelier, you requested to speak. You're not, I can't hear you if you are speaking.
That was it me or was it Jay? Okay, because there's two Masteliers here tonight.
Well, I've got you down.
Oh,
You got
okay.
the microphone, so
All right, that's fine.
you're talking.
That's fine. What I'd like to do is under discussion, because I heard that the sheriff stopped and looked at the jail in Henry County, is if we could just see what he heard, because I haven't been there yet and I intend to get there. But if he had a chance to talk to the sheriff.
We're under discussion. What I would suggest, if it's okay with Supervisor Kinnard, who is next up to speak, we could give the sheriff opportunity at this time. If Supervisor Mastelier wants your thoughts. And then we'll come back to you.
That's good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak. Much like our chair, I often do find myself interfering in my vacations as well for the purpose of county business. I was actually down celebrating our 28th wedding anniversary in Missouri. And when I heard that there was going to be a tour scheduled and I would be on military orders, I put it upon myself to be proactive. So I contacted the sheriff up in Henry County, and he was very gracious to allow me to make a pit stop. So both me and my lovely wife were afforded a multiple hour tour through that facility. We did not.
Oh, I thought that would have been a perfect.
No. Yeah, we had the chance. Very gracious sheriff, wonderful staff. And they built a facility that, was decided on by Henry County. Good for them. Good for them. They did their study, they did their homework, and they built a facility that works for them. That facility will not work for Kewaunee County. Make no mistake about it. That facility will not work for our community. All right. So if we're going to pursue this, we're going in eyes wide open. And I'll give you one example. This structure has no kitchen. Zero. It has a stainless steel table in the middle of a room. You might ask, well, why is that, Sheriff? It's because they co-located this. Actually, they were given land by the state correctional agency because they co-located on a state correctional site. So their meals are brought to them 3 times a day in Mermites by the state DOC. Good for them. So they were able to do that. We don't have that. So don't think for a minute that we're going to be able to replicate this. It's not going to happen. They have different guidelines in regards to work release. Huber, I said the word Huber, didn't even know what I was saying, right? Because they don't do it, right? They don't release on their OWIs. Everybody stays in custody until they see a judge. These are little things that change operations. This is very important for you to understand this, because we cannot go blindly thinking this is a one size fits all. I don't care if the architect's from Colorado, Iowa, or New Mexico. The only thing that's going to change the cost of this project are 2 things, and 2 things only: the scope of the project and the quality of the materials used in the project. Bottom line, you need to go into this eyes wide open. So if we pursue this and go down this path, I will be a watchdog on both of those issues. I will not allow for the scope of this project to get reduced beyond operational effectiveness or the safety of my staff and those inmates. I will not allow for substandard materials to be used in this facility. That is my line in the sand. So again, if this is the path that we are striking, we will journey this together, but know this and know it very clearly. I will hold this project to a standard that this community has set in 8 years of studying. We have done our planning. This is our facility, not Henry County's. So let's just be very mindful of that. That's all I've got.
Supervisor Kennard?
My question's probably gonna be for Paul. I want to know
Paul?
what do we have invested already in what we've done so far before we move forward?
So since this time roughly last year, when the project was initially approved, we spent roughly, I don't have the numbers with me, but we spent about $1.1 million from last June or July when it was passed up through the last invoice I received about 2 weeks ago. And I don't know that the invoices are done coming or not. That's what we have received to date.
Is any of that money, could it be used with a different contractor coming in, or is it just for them? Is there some crossover?
Well, this was paid to Venture Architect Samuels Group. We got a design.
Any of
So-
this with soil testing, with site testing? Was that all part of that?
There's a small amount up front. I don't know the dollar amount for soil testing. I seriously doubt that would have to be done again. The soil's the soil.
That's all I have.
Other questions, further discussion? Just one note, we did note, I was fully aware that they have a warming kitchen at this jail. The architect mentioned that he does have plenty of options, has built plenty of jails where they do have a full kitchen. All right, you were prepared. You may register your vote. $11 yes, 7 no. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the next resolution.
A resolution authorizing the redemption of a portion of the general obligation refunding bonds dated December 20th, 2012. Fiscal impact statement, $620,000 debt payment from the debt service fund.
I have a motion by Supervisor Romden, second by Supervisor Haskey. Is there discussion? Seeing none, you may register your vote. Supervisor Patricia, there we go. 17 yes, 1 opposed, motion carries. Next resolution.
A resolution granting the petition for bridge aid, Town of Manapee, fiscal impact, $14,250 from County Aid Bridge Fund.
Motion by Supervisor Romden, second by Supervisor Vollenweider. Is there discussion? All right, you may register your vote. 18 yes, none opposed, motion carries. Next resolution when you're prepared.
Resolution to increase the county administrator's salary, fiscal impact, increase of salary and benefits of $9,062 at the highest step.
Is there a motion? Supervisor Lazansky, second by Supervisor Poppy. Is there discussion? Supervisor Kennard.
When you were doing your homework, you obviously thought that our range wasn't high enough. Ed, did you look at that, or was that the committee, or?
It may be high enough.
Okay,
It's increasing. We're not setting an exact number. We're increasing the range so as to give that flexibility.
Okay.
Correct, Ed, or Supervisor Poppy? Anything further to add on that?
Ed, can you please turn on your microphone and repeat that, Ed?
Sorry, Ed, your microphone, and he didn't hear you.
Okay, potentially, we would not at 122, that's where your top is right now, might not be able to make that work. And so the authorization was to ask to bring it up to 130. And, Paul will work that into our pay plan, starting at 130, moving back down. So that hopefully, when push comes to shove, we may have enough money there to entice somebody to come in.
Any other questions?
Question for Ed. Did you, when looking at supervisor pay, or supervisor pay, at administrator pay, where do we sit as far as is in that pay scale through the state? I mean, because obviously there's some pretty high numbers and I don't know where we sit as far as the low numbers and
From what I've seen, we're probably in the lower tier when we look at our pay structure. So, is it rock bottom? No, we're not at rock bottom, but we're not pushing the mid-range either.
is that gonna hurt us as far as finding qualified individuals?
Obviously it will. I mean, people that are looking to move and move up are going to look to a place that has the salary that's going to be commensurate with the job description that you're asking them to administer to. So the extra $8,000 that you're going to add might be enough, I think, to bring us into a range where you're going to get some lucrative. I shouldn't say lucrative. You're going to get some interested people to apply.
But won't okay, by say adding to a because as I read the resolution, it was a maximum of 130,000. So is that going to be enough? Do you feel that it will attract individuals? Because I look at what the city of Kewaunee went through to find an administrator. And I just can't imagine us moving that many people through here just to find an administrator in a short period of time.
We got to hope that it's going to do the job until we get the ad out and start seeing what the responses are. We really won't know. If that isn't going to get it done, the committee may have to come back to the board for some additional authority.
Supervisor Dell?
So before we send out for application and so forth, we're thinking that we're gonna be too low, so we're automatically gonna go to 130.
We're increasing the range and
Just the
that will
range.
be, that would be commensurate with experience and qualifications. So if we found if somebody would apply and we found that they were a very suitable candidate, we would have the ability to be able to increase. All right, other questions? Very well. Well, you may register your vote. All right. Okay. Is he having trouble there, Mr. Ross? Okay. All right, so we got that resolved. 14 yes, 4 no. Motion carries. All right. Consideration of ordinance read at previous county board meeting. We have none. Going on to communications, I have a note here that I'm supposed to go to the clerk on that. I don't remember why.
So there's no communications from other counties, but for Kewaunee County events, I was asked to share that the city of Algoma will have a tax increment district meeting, the public hearing on October 10th of 23 at 6 p.m. And that is for TID number 4. And also the city of Kewaunee will have the same. They will have a tax incremental district number 3 meeting. Public hearing will be August 24th at 6:30. And their joint review board will meet at August 22nd at 4:30.
All right. Now, if there's any other Kewaunee County events. Anybody? Supervisor Kroll.
The back to school program is tomorrow. The health department is doing it and it is from 12 to 5 at Lake Haven. Cindy? Correct, 12 to 5? Yes, 12 to 5.
All right. Any others? Supervisor Haskey.
Okay, Algoma has 2 things going on. This Saturday is Soar on the Shore, and it's going to be a very, very nice event. So come on down. There's no cover charge or gate charge or anything, so you can come down and go on our beach and see the kites. The other thing is next Wednesday, the Viking Cruise is going to be back in Algoma. If you haven't seen the Viking Cruise yet, it's really worth coming and watching that boat.
All right, thank
That's
you. Any others? All right. Just want to, moving on, chair comments. I just want to check real quick. You obviously, we want to get some people down there or anybody that wants to look at the jail in Henry County, see for yourself. There's some discussion of, with working with their schedule, some discussion of September the 8th. We would, group would go down September the 8th, would leave in the morning, tour, then return on the September the 9th. The other possibility that was discussed was leaving at around noon on September the 7th, and then touring first thing in the morning on September the 8th, and then returning. Does it make a difference to people? I guess I'm kind of trying to gauge. Yes, Supervisor Lizansky.
So I really thought it benefited when I saw the Calumet County Jail. And so when I would see the blueprints here of the prior blueprints we had, I could envision what that jail looked like. So now when I see like the blueprints of this jail that we would tour, I really want to see it in person to see what that looks like. I think it's very beneficial. So I really want to go. I am not available on the 7th. I'm available for the 8th to the 9th.
Okay.
So I prefer that.
Other strong preferences? Supervisor Heskey.
I'm not available those days.
Okay.
Interested to go, but those dates don't work.
Hard to come up with dates that work for a lot of people. Yes, sir, Supervisor Poppy.
I would prefer the 8th and the 9th.
Any others want to weigh in? Okay. How many, just real quick, how many would be able to go and would be interested in going on either of those dates? So Supervisor Lukes, Supervisor Brown, Romden. Okay, which one works? Doesn't matter to you guys. Does it? 8th is better than the 7th. All right, so we're going to go with September 8 and 9 based on straw poll here. I'll try to set something up for you. And how many believe that they would go? If you could show your hands again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, maybe keep your hands up just one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. That's helpful. We need to move on this as quickly as possible. If it's not going to be an option, then we need to proceed with other options, which obviously the other option would be to do the necessary repairs to the current facility. So we would need to proceed with those as quickly as possible in order to satisfy the state jail inspector. So if this isn't going to be an option, we'll look at that. We can get the current jail fixed up as nice as possible so that it'll serve for many years to come, hopefully. All right, dates for the next meetings. We have September 12th is previously scheduled. October 17th is previously scheduled. November 7th is proposed, and that works for you? November 7th?
Yeah.
It does. Okay, so do I have a motion for November 7th? Are we going to do that on the pads or just by hand? All right, Supervisor Poppy, second by Supervisor Romden, all in favor of November 7th, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. 6 o'clock is what's done. All right, fabulous. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Supervisor Patricia, second by Supervisor Dell, all in favor signify by saying aye.